So in tonight's episode, we kind of get some answers. Sort of, but not really. But we definitely get left with a lot more questions as to what's really going on in the Dark Force and the Light Force.
Welcome to the heart of the stories we tell. My name is Rob, and tonight I will be reviewing
Cloak and Dagger, Episode 4, Call, Response. And that's kind of a writing thing. Well, specifically an improv thing. Someone makes a call, someone makes a response. How does someone respond to an emotional or a mental stimulation? What happens when you do something? What is the response going to be? I also can think back to Babylon 5, where they specifically call out that there's two moments that change the world. When someone tells you that they love you, there's only two possible outcomes. The same thing happens when someone punches you in the face. But enough about other shows. What I do here is I review stories. I talk about what makes them cool, what the problems with them are, dissect how and why we tell some stories, and then do theory videos every month as well. If that sounds interesting to you, click the subscribe button and join our little community. But right now we're talking Cloak and Dagger, and oh boy do we have something to talk about. And we're going to start with the fact that I totally warned you guys last week that I had 102 fever a few hours before the episode started, so the fact that I didn't pick up on the fact that the statues for other divine pairings is totally going to get blamed on the fever and maybe me being a little out of it. But yes, I absolutely agree. That's most likely what they are. And the fact that 3D printing didn't exist way back when meant that they were harder to make, and that the one being made is specific to him. And since they haven't found Tandy yet, they don't know, and they haven't explained anything yet. But the question about whether or not using the voodoo, if they could control Cloak and Dagger with them, it depends how fanciful they go with this, and I don't know. I hope not. I hope that the voodoo priestess is a good character. I hope that she's helpful more than harmful, but we'll have to wait and see as the cast rounds out and as the episodes go on. As for tonight's episode, we got a nice little Easter egg for Cloak's outfit. Can't imagine why it is we don't get one of Tandy's. Ha ha ha. But overall, we get a good look at what it means when they stand together. And that's just from the preview itself. You can see that they're pushing themselves, testing themselves. And like every other episode, we see it in 2 points of view. But before we talk about that, let's throw this up there to get started.
So once again, it's stop. Spoiler time.
So both Tandy and Tyrone have to learn parallel but different lessons. One needs to learn to trust and become close to someone, and the other needs to learn that sometimes even someone you trusted has a story you don't know, because not everyone tells you everything all the time. One of them needs to make a friend and stretch out, and the other one needs to be a little more careful about what he finds and what he allows others to see about him. All in all, it's a really great use of the parallel storytelling. I love Tandy learning about Roxanne a little bit from the lawyer, who I cannot decide if he's a scumbag or not. Yeah, you get the whole, well, he's married and he's cheating on his wife, and that's real easy to throw into the scumbag category. When you think about it, if he's really not in love, if he's really in a bad marriage, and there are bad marriages, and he found someone that he could connect to, and he's trying to help, and everything does point to him trying to help. Is he the asshole? I don't know. I don't think Tandy knows either. There's a great conversation they have about how their powers work and why they got the powers they did. And Tandy's all like, if I had your powers and I could go anywhere, I'd go anywhere but here. And he's like, yeah, well, if I had your powers, I'd be laying the combat stuff down and going and picking fights. And Tandy is very, very insightful. Maybe that's why we got the powers we did. Because Tandy's first thought is always flight. And Tyrone's first is fight. So he got the power of flight and she got the power of fight. Because they need each other. And yes, they're on a expedition inside themselves to find themselves. And they're still somewhat on the walkabout that they started off last week. But at the same time, they're still separate. They have not quite completely gotten to the point where they're helping each other yet. And that's what they really didn't take from that, and I kind of laughed because like, oh, it showed us what we needed. It brings us to what we need. Yeah, what you need is each other. You need to work together. I do also love the two of them talking about the fact that the universe is pulling them together and pulling them apart. I loved the whole idea of Tandy having hope and Tyrone maybe being a bit too honest. All in all, the characterization once they're together is awesome. The fact that they're not together that often actually makes it more so. Then we get into the craziness. We get Tyrone choosing his brother's cloak, and we get Tandy watching her mother's newest ex-boyfriend get shot in the head. And then his whole law office being burnt down. It's a good thing that we're in a superhero show, and it's easy to forget that in all the teen angst. Because things are about to get crazy. Because you do know why he was killed, right? You do realize that that was Roxxon. And Roxxon knows that somewhere out there is a dark force entity. Whether they know about a light force entity is what I'm curious about. Tandy might be the ace in the hole. But then again, maybe not. Years ago, Roxxon, during the Agent Carter series, had someone who was in control of the dark force. So I'm curious to see whether or not they know about the light force, if they know about Tandy at all. And at the same time, there was at least one other character in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. who had access to the dark force. So this is not something new in the MCU. But again, the light force might be. Now, having said that, like I said, we still don't know what's going on with Voodoo Woman. And we still don't fully know if she really learned her lesson. And I think the lesson is she needs to trust someone. And right now, the universe is presenting her with someone who is her opposite. Someone who can be there for her. Someone who might be a little too honest. But maybe right now she needs someone that she knows is too honest. Maybe right now what she needs, someone to help her find out what's going on. And when they do, I'd like to remind you, he's already teleported to Roxxon at least once. Of course, before they can teleport to Roxxon, there are a few other things they're going to have to deal with. And the fact that both of them are borderline suicidal, both of them are dealing with survivor's guilt, is the psychological impact of being as messed up as they are. But there's a physical problem, too. Roxxon's holding all the cards. Tandy right now has a very little bit of info. Whatever that lawyer collected, she's holding it in her hands. But that's it. And they don't know how their powers work. Next week has a great line in the trailer, though. We have these powers, why don't we use them? Well, let's see. Let's see how they use them. For now, though, I'm curious what you think about the episode. And did I miss anything else tonight? Either way, let me know down in the comment section below. And I have a general question for you. If you could have one of their powers, be either Cloak or Dagger, whether you had the partner or not, which would you choose to be? Would you rather have the power set of the light force or the dark force? Just curious. Alright, either way, if you could do me a favor and like and share this video, and of course, click that subscribe button if you haven't already. I'm trying to build a community here. One where we can talk about how and why we tell stories. And in this case, I think we're telling the story of survivor's guilt. The story of what it means to be privileged. And the story of what it means to be lost and alone in the world. Because there's way too many of us that relate to it. I hope you have a good night, and thank you for walking with me through the heart of Cloak and Dagger episode 4.